Welcome to Brands on Tap, the History Edition. Both of these images were filed last week at the Trademark Office. They were filed independently, one day apart by two separate companies, but share the common characteristic of a clenched fist showing off the right bicep muscle. Why is this? A closer look at the first image was filed by a company called Free Soul Designs out of Illinois in connection with apparel. Shirts, blouses, skirts, dresses, caps, all sorts of apparel items. Whereas this image was filed by Bad Babes Marketing out of Arkansas in connection with brewed beverages such as beer and ale. Bad standing for bold, adventurous, daring, determined. These images clearly depict strength, independence, power, and freedom to the female image, one that's empowering. But where do these images originate from? To understand this is to go back in time 70 years to learn about the story of Rosie the Riveter. These two images were both created more than 70 years ago and could explain the origin of the recent trademark filings. Deja vu. And similarly, these were created by two different artists independently for two different reasons. On the left would be considered the more popular of the two images, even made its way to a US postage stamp in 1999. But most people mistakenly call the image of this woman Rosie the Riveter, and they are all wrong. She is not Rosie. Take a look at this image to the right. This is a Norman Rockwell painting, and you can see the lunchbox marked Rosie with a riveting machine. This was published in the Saturday Evening Post on a Memorial Day issue in 1943. Whereas the We Can Do It poster was published months earlier in Westinghouse Company to boost employee morale, and wasn't even popular or even seen during World War II, let alone had a name. Completely different reasons. But to understand Rosie the Riveter is to understand where that came from. And it did not come from the images, but rather from this song. The name Rosie the Riveter was first used in 1942 in a song of the same name. The song was inspired by Rosalind Walter, who came from old money and worked on the night shift building air fighters. Later in life, Walter was a philanthropist, a board member of a New York public television station, and an early and longtime supporter of the Charlie Rose interview show. Norman Rockwell's image of Rosie the Riveter received mass distribution on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post Memorial Day 43. Rockwell's model was a Vermont resident, Mary Doyle, who was a telephone operator near where Rockwell lived, not a riveter. The Post's cover image proved hugely popular, and the magazine loaned it to the U.S. Treasury Department for the duration of the war for use in war bond drives. Rosie the Riveter became the female personification of World War II, the home front equivalent of G.I. Joe. She represents any woman defense worker and inspired a social movement that dramatically increased the number of working American women during the wartime effort. After the war, Rockwell's Rosie was seen less and less because of general policy and vigorous copyright protection by the Rockwell estate. In 2002, the original painting sold at Sotheby's for nearly $5 million. In late 1942, Westinghouse Company's War Production Coordinating Committee created a series of 40-some-odd posters for the war effort. One of these became the famous We Can Do It image. The intent of the poster was to keep production up by boosting morale, not to recruit more women workers. It was shown only to Westinghouse employees in the Midwest during a 2-week period in February 1943, months before the Rockwell image. Then it disappeared nearly 4 decades. During the war, the name Rosie was not associated with the image. It was not about women's empowerment. It was only later in the early 80s that the poster was rediscovered and became famous, associated with feminism and often mistakenly called Rosie the Riveter. In 1982, We Can Do It poster was reproduced in a magazine article, The Washington Post, called Poster Art for Patriotism's Sake. In subsequent years, the poster was reappropriated to promote feminism. Feminists saw in the image an embodiment of female empowerment. The we was understood to mean we women, uniting all women in a sisterhood, fighting against gender inequality. This was very different from the poster's meaning in 1943, where we meant the Westinghouse employees, used to boost morale and to discourage labor unrest. Smithsonian Magazine put the image on its cover in March '94 to invite the viewer to read a featured article about wartime posters. and even made its way to a 33-cent stamp. February 1999. U.S. Postal Service issued it with the image, adding the words, "Women Support War Effort." While the Rockwell image was widely disseminated during the war, later copyright restrictions meant it was less frequently produced, and the "We Can Do It" image was without such restraints, and is the probable reason for its rise in popularity and widespread use, and why we mistakenly associate Rosie the Riveter to this more popular image.
Whose men are at war. The government's policy is that women should get the same pay that men get for similar work.
There seems to be no limit to the widespread adoption of the "We Can Do It" image. T-shirts, tattoos, coffee cups, refrigerator magnets. So many different products, the Washington Post called it the most overexposed souvenir item available in Washington, D.C. In the 2008 campaign, some of the regional campaigners working to elect Palin, Ron Paul, Hillary Clinton made use of it. There's a bobblehead doll and an action figure toy been produced. A stereoscopic image of "We Can Do It" was created for the closing credits to the 2011 film Captain America. In February 2012, there was a Facebook app developed and called Rosify Yourself, referring to, of course, Rosie the Riveter. It allowed viewers to upload images of their faces to be incorporated into the "We Can Do It" poster to then be saved and shared with friends. Beyonce has incorporated in her performances. Thanks social media to the continuing rise of Rosie as a meme, from Halloween costumes to YouTube tutorials of how to both dress and apply makeup to look like Rosie. And just months ago, more than 1,000 women of all ages gathered in California to celebrate Rosie's legacy of can-do feminism. The gathering set a new world record for the largest gathering of people dressed as Rosie the Riveter. What will become of Rosie in the future? Maybe the ultimate, where past meets future, where Rosie the Riveter meets Rosie the robot maid from the Jetsons, who's in need of a few rivets. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up, or feel free to leave any comments below. Please click on the subscribe button, as we post 3 or 4 videos each week, and this is the best way to stay updated to the latest. And if you really love what we're doing, hit the share button, and a single click to Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media of choice, you can let friends know about what we're doing with this one-of-a-kind news source of original content that you cannot find anywhere else. Again, we thank you for your viewership, time, and support. Have a great day.